Well, hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today for another exciting episode of Impact Aurora, inspiring unity, change, and service. Today, we are so excited and honored to have both Lieutenant Colonel Tom Banker and Chief Master Sergeant Ed Hauschild of the Colorado Air National Guard join us on the program with us today. Gentlemen, it's an honor to have both of you. You all are just incredible leaders, not only in our local community, but to our country. So we are ecstatic and really excited for the conversation and honored to have both of you joining us today. I'm also delighted to have my co-host here, Jill, join the conversation and really diving into asking some questions. Jill, thank you so much for being here today.
Happy to be here, Jordan.
All right. Well, Lieutenant Colonel Banker and Chief Master Sergeant Hauschild, we're really excited. If you all can just quickly provide just a quick introduction about yourselves and certainly what you do, that would be fantastic.
Sure. Hey, I'll kick it off, Ed. Youth, the young guy gets to go first. So thanks for having us, Jordan and Jill. It's good to see you again, both classmates of ours. But Jordan, quite the introduction. You're really good at this, bud. But so Lieutenant Colonel Tom Banker. I'm with the Colorado Air National Guard. Currently, the position I hold is the 140th Aircraft Maintenance Squadron Commander. So here at Buckley Air Force Base, it's the outfit that oversees the maintenance, care, and feeding of the aircraft, F-16C Plus Fighting Falcon that we have here on Buckley Air Force Base. You guys probably see them flying, hear them flying, and we're the proud unit that gets to be able to make those birds fly. So that's my current position.
Thank you.
Good morning, Jordan, Jill. It's a pleasure to be with you guys. Thanks for having us. My name is Ed Hauschild. I'm Chief Master Sergeant with your Colorado Air National Guard. And my position is I'm the 140th Mission Support Group Superintendent. And what we do is we kind of basically, what the title says, we support the wing, the whole base from civil engineering, communications, security forces, your personnel is HR stuff and communications. Going 20 years in the Guard, going in my 30th year overall military service this year. So yeah, the older guy, but I'd argue the better looking guy.
I'm not going to weigh in on that debate. Y'all are both good friends. So we all met because we were in Leadership Aurora together. Well, we still kind of are. The longest class, best class ever. So maybe you can both just talk a little bit about how Leadership Aurora has impacted you both professionally and personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll hop on that one first too, I guess. But you guys have been doing awesome with these podcasts, by the way. I saw the one, I think it might have been your first one on, was it Mayor Kaufman? I think that you might have had on. So that was a phenomenal one. First of all, I didn't know his background in military service as well, but there's one piece in there that he said that absolutely rings true to my experience with Leadership Aurora too, and something us military guys don't often get the opportunity to experience. But he used the word network in there, network expansion, building a network. We show up to work every day here outside our window. We got barbed wire and a whole bunch of cool fighter jets and other secret stuff, but it's all consuming sometimes. So often we're not either good at or given the opportunity to get outside that wire, if you will, and build on that network. So I can honestly say that's probably been the biggest beneficial agent that's come from this experience is the network expansion. And again, I'm looking at Jordan and Jill and what you guys do, and Karen and Jen and Priscilla and all these other folks. And I can think about everything and they do in the community, everything they touch. So to be able to be part of an experience like this, grow that network, not only of friends, but professional acquaintances that I can only imagine will come in handy here as we continue to do business going forward in whatever roles we fill. But that network has been the biggest thing for me, and something I'm very grateful for that Leadership Aurora has provided.
Yeah, I would like to add, I agree. The networking has been extraordinary. I would also like to add, for me, the education. So I actually went to high school here in Aurora. I've worked here in the community for, like I said, 20 years in the Guard. And I'll be honest, I never paid attention to the behind the scenes, behind the curtain of everything that goes on. All the days we had that there was the medical, the fire, the chambers, everything that we've learned, the support that the community has. Leadership Aurora has really showed me that everything that Aurora has to offer. We just go in and spend our dollars and go into the stores, but there's a lot of community support, outreach. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes that I was just oblivious to. That combination with the networking, I think, was what's going to really make us hard to beat.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree. And that's actually a really good segue, Ed, into the next question. And that is, did you guys have a specific day or a specific activity that was your favorite, or a favorite memory that you had during the course of our class?
Yeah, I'll tell you, yes. There was many. To be honest, with COVID, it kind of interrupted the class a little bit. And we didn't get to see as many things maybe as previous classes, but we did get to see a lot still. And I would tell you that the one that hit me the hardest, if you will, as far as the impact, I would say it was the medical day. My wife, my daughter was born in the medical center of Aurora, and to be able to go back there and see the care and everything that goes behind the scenes there was just extraordinary. We were a client, if you will, a customer, but it was just more than that when you get to see everything that was there. And there's no doubt in my mind that, if God forbid something happens medically, that we will be taken care of in Aurora. I have no problem with that.
Yeah, that's amazing.
That's neat.
Yeah, so I'm trying to think too. That's a really good question, and all these rush of memories are popping back into my head here. It's hard to dismiss kind of how Leadership Aurora kicks off with that in-person multi-day summit, of the whole class coming and getting together, forming, storming, norming in such a quick amount of time, and a beautiful setting. Again, not something most of us military guys get to do, go get put up in a lodge up in a ski town in Colorado. So that was a unique experience, pleasure for me. But I would actually say the one that sticks out the most, again, an opportunity like this for guys like me and Eddie, we get to experience things that we just don't normally get to do in our normal day jobs. But the Rocky Mountain PBS, when we actually got to go, that was, we never get to do those sorts of things. And what a unique experience. Again, flying jets, defending the homeland, pretty cool stuff. But I was like a little kid watching the cameras and the folks do that live interview, the live TV segments. So pretty cool stuff. So
that was pretty good too.
I think you could just almost every day, you could just sit and talk about every single day over and over again, because there's so much to glean for it. And Ed, I was going to say medical day also for me was one of the most impactful, and partly because both at Medical Center of Aurora and at UC Health, they talked about that Stop the Bleed program, which was the program with tourniquets. Yep. And I'm telling you, within 2 weeks, I had a friend who was in a motorcycle accident, terrible, but his life was spared because somebody came by in a car with one of those Stop the Bleed kits in her car. And I mean, I had zero exposure to that prior to that day. So talk about just like relevancy and seeing that kind of come full circle, and thankfully he's fine. So I completely agree that every day you could just really dive into. So I have one more question, Jordan, if you don't mind. Yeah. We did Military Day remotely. I think it might have been in April, obviously because of COVID. And so we got to hear a lot of things. But, if you were to help schedule Military Day in person, hypothetically, let's just like play along that we're in a perfect world again. And, what would be the things that, you would really want folks to know, or folks like us and your classmates to experience as part of Air National Guard, as part of Buckley, as part of Military Day?
Tommy, you want me to go?
Sure, buddy.
Yeah. So I think the cool thing is show off the aircraft that are on the flight line is pretty neat. That's the obvious, the high-end stuff out there. But I think it would also be pretty good to show what we do as far as missions with the state. We do a lot of domestic operations. During this COVID time, our airmen actually have left their military jobs or their civilian jobs and have gone out to actually help the community, whether it's helping with homelessness, helping with COVID vaccine distribution, testing, emergency operations centers. We have a lot of people that have actually done a lot of that in our community. I don't think a lot of people realize that. They know that our airmen are out there helping. We are, in essence, Aurora, Colorado. We're not the people that move. Active duty military moves every 2 years. We actually stick around, and like I said, I've been here 20 years, and we actually help the community as well. So I would like to showcase that a little bit too. And then we also have another state partnership program where we do stuff with other countries. I think that would be kind of cool to show too and educate the people. It's just more than just flying the jets, although the jets are pretty cool. And of course, they'd have to check out Tom Banker's office. It's pretty extraordinary.
Been here for 20 years. You are old. That's no, that's awesome, Ed. Like, yeah, you talked on all the domestic operations stuff. It's so cool. You get to see it on TV. But yeah, that would have been phenomenal to show the class that, and then the jets, that is one thing that is a super bummer, and hopefully we can make up for that sometime. But I know with previous Leadership Aurora classes, getting out there on a Friday when the aircraft are doing their pattern work, their jets flying over at 250, 300 knots right over your head. I mean, who wouldn't like something like that, But as I'm listening to Ed give his answer, and then Jill, to your question, the first thing that popped into my head, and I don't know why this did, but if there was one thing I'd like for the class to have been able to see, it's funny when one of the nicest compliments any military member I think can get is when somebody takes the time to stop and say thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. It's always humbling. It never gets old hearing that, and it always means so much to hear that. Sometimes it's hard to give a response as to what that means to the individual when somebody takes the time to say that. What I would have loved for you guys to have seen, if and maybe when, we still might be able to try to do it, what that service means. I'm still in awe every time I come on this base. We have roughly 1,700 air guardsmen, just over, I think, 4,000 to 5,000 Army guardsmen, and you walk on base and you get to see what that service is. And a lot of the times that service isn't pretty. We're sitting in the comfort of our offices and drinking our warm coffee. The men and women that serve are out in the 14-degree weather right now, preparing the jets to fly. They're bloody in their hands, bloody in their uniforms. But it's so many other supporting agencies that make that happen. It's the sacrifice that the men and women give to, the number of folks that we have preparing to deploy right now to go over to hostile corners of our planet, hot and sandy locations. And it's honest, that's why I keep showing up. I love seeing that stuff. Hopefully we can find a time to get you guys out to see it with your own eyes, the what that service is. And then I try to tell folks thank you for your service too when I'm not in uniform and I see a young airman, a young Marine, a young sailor, because I get to witness it every day. And we'll get you guys out here sometime so you guys can see that too.
Yeah, we'll hold you to that. But because we probably don't say it enough either, just, you guys are right in front of us. So thank you so much for what you do. Truly. Your friends, but I know it goes, that the thanks is for much more than just friendship.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Jill.
Thank you, Jill.
Yeah, thank you both so much. And I think that really just segues nicely into the next couple of questions that we have, really, as both of you were sharing some of the incredible work that your personnel are doing on a daily basis, not only for our country, but just the local community. I mean, this last year has, really been ushering so many different changes and challenges to our communities that we've never really experienced. At least in my lifetime, I've never seen anything like some of the challenges that we've faced with the pandemic and just other things as well. And both of you are really dedicating, your careers to this service, to our country, to our community. So again, as Jill really mentioned, we just want to sincerely just thank you for what it is that you guys are doing on a daily basis for us and our country. But, can you talk to us a little bit about, what are maybe some community service lessons that you've maybe learned, whether it be through this Leadership Aurora program or even in your time, serving with the Guard, and kind of what draws you to that field? Like what, and I know, Tom, you kind of mentioned that's why you show up every day. Can you talk to us just a little bit about maybe what are some of these insights and lessons that you've learned from the service that you've seen, maybe some stories of your own or just other servicemen and women that they do on a daily basis, and kind of why that draws you to continue to show up on a daily basis?
Yeah, no, great question. And again, I think I'll probably just leverage the story I was just telling about showing up. But to your point with the craziness that is, I think we're all probably still trying to wrap our head around living in this COVID environment for the better part of a year now. But to your point, Jordan, it's amazing. Like, so we, a lot of organizations have a mission statement or values, and we do here in the Air Force as well, a set of core values. One of them is service before self. And so I'm thinking back to your craziness of the COVID time right now. And you and I were talking about this several weeks back, and we were kind of joking about it, but I'll try to put it into a frame here. So the craziness is that it rolled onto our shore, February, March of last year, started shutting everything down, COVID-19. I don't even know what other organizations were doing. I know folks were going home and teleworking. We had some hard times in our communities, and but the military, the Guard, didn't have that luxury. Turns out you can't go telework fixing an aircraft or stand in a watch post to defend the base. And so we were put into a position early on where we here at Buckley operate a no-fail Homeland Defense mission, 24/7 Homeland Defense mission. So COVID wasn't going to be a reason for us to not show up and make sure that mission was ready. So just talk about service, back to your original kind of point. It was rough, and I can't even tell you the number of iterations of work schedules and distancing and number of cleanings and just all the different iterations we had to try to go through to make sure that no-fail mission stayed standing, so we could guard our U.S. borders. And the folks were tired then. We're still tired, but we're still showing up and we're still getting after it. And I'm so proud of our guys and gals for doing that. But again, it kind of goes back to that service thing I was talking about before, that service and leadership lesson that we're still continuing to witness. And it's during crazy times. But COVID didn't stop the Colorado Air National Guard. That's for darn sure. We kept showing up, and I'm tired too, and I've lost a lot of hair, and it's turning a little gray too. But I'm still showing up. Still got a paycheck coming in. So beat that, Ed.
That's awesome.
Well, I think Tommy, you've aged about 10 years over the last year, but no. I agree. It has been a challenge as far as in Buckley having to adapt, just like everybody else, having to adapt to COVID environment, and we've had to be creative on how we do our business. And because like Colonel Banker says, it's not we just don't shut down. For me, I'd like to just what draws me to this. Leadership Aurora, but even before Leadership Aurora, Leadership Aurora has just expanded my view. But I really am drawn to service. So I've been lucky over the last year to do a couple of food pantries that they were doing in Aurora, taking care of people, helping a school. My wife's a teacher, so I help her out. But the thing I love about service and basically doing something that you really wouldn't have to do, it's helping others. It's helping others, and that otherwise couldn't be helped. And I think one of the things we try to do is always lead by example. And so if we're asking people to donate a little more and service before self, like Colonel Banker says, with what we follow here, what our core value, one of our core values, well, it's to do it, perform service as much as you possibly can. Now, this last year has been challenging because of the no-fail mission. We have been told to limit our exposure. And so we like, for example, we can't travel without permission. There's a lot of stuff we can't do, but that's okay. That's okay, because in the end, I'm sure I speak for Colonel Banker and most of our airmen, we believe in what we do, and whether it's here on base or in our local community.
Yeah, thank you both very much. That's fantastic. So kind of going along those lines as well is, a lot of you have personnel that report to you and kind of support the mission and kind of the respective duties that you are overseeing. Can you talk to us maybe a little bit about ways in which maybe you've tried to really uplift the personnel, kind of navigating kind of the season that we've all been in, ways in which maybe you have kind of tried to encourage your personnel, inspire that kind of that unity, that leadership, and just that service just back to others? Have there been like specific examples, like over the last year in particular, that you've kind of been able to work, with your teams to kind of help just uplift each other?
Well, yes. It has been a challenge, like I said, for my team, and just like for a lot of us. The challenges with this COVID environment and all the restrictions placed on us has been extraordinary. Just for something as simple as wearing a mask to minimize exposure. But like I said, we can't travel, so people want to see families that they have in other parts of the country, and that Jordan has come to be one of the hardest things to do this year, is to try to keep people upbeat and provide that glimmer of hope, if you will. We just have to be persistent, and obviously we have to be upbeat, because if we're not, then this is contagious. So we try to be upbeat and let them know we care about them. More than anything, is we care, and we will do whatever we can to help meet their needs. Now that the vaccine is rolling out, I think it provides that glimmer of hope, and people are getting to be a little more upbeat. We're letting loosen the reins just a little bit on the control that we have with travel and stuff, but we still have to be very cautious, because the COVID's still here. So yeah, just trying to lead by example, trying to talk to our airmen, find out individually what makes them tick, what their struggles are, what can we do to help them, and be very engaged, even if it's over this the Zooms or the Teams or whatever it may be. I mean, that's the best we can do right now. But I'm always open for other ideas, to be honest.
Yeah, no, that's again another great question, Jordan. So, so I have just roughly over 200 men and women under my command. So it's one of the largest squadrons here in the Colorado Air National Guard, first or second largest. But I'm not a maintenance officer by trade. I actually grew up in the pilot field. So I was an Air Force pilot for the bulk of my career, 14 plus years. So this is a new experience to me, in which our organizational structure and the world I grew up in, pilot, is all officers. So we have officers and enlisted in our ranks, and again, other lieutenants, captains, majors, a bunch of knucklehead officer pilots. We were all fairly self-sufficient. We took care of ourselves, So coming to this organization, which has been hands down the best job I've ever had, and the honor of a lifetime, with those 200 men and women, under command. So to put it in perspective, again, you look at a flying squadron, and maybe there's 30 to 40 folks in that squadron, and 70% of them are going to be officers. So here we are, 200 plus individuals, and there's 2 officers, and the rest come from the enlisted ranks. And I go back to that statement earlier too. Again, I'll probably say this for every question you ask, by the way. But watching day number 1, watching what those men and women did. And by the way, maintenance starts here on Buckley Air Force Base at 0600. That's 6 a.m. in the morning. I hadn't been up that early probably since boot camp. It'd probably been about 19 years. But you show up at 6 in the morning, and there's multiple hundred individuals here launching into the day's preparations, the day's briefs, getting ready to figure out priorities on what they're going to fix and how they're going to fix it, so they can have those F-16 fighting Falcon aircraft ready to defend the homeland, and the pride that they took in that. And the one piece of advice I was getting from my former boss prior to taking this job, he said, "Tommy, the only thing I'm going to ask you to do is to take care of the people." I was like, "Man, that sounds easy enough. Pretty personal guy. Yeah, show up and figure out how to take care of the people." The simplest thing I learned I could do as a leader for my troops was show up, be present. And there's been no greater time or more important time during these hectic days we live in than to continue to show up. Because every morning at 0600, I pull onto Mississippi, and I pull onto the base there, and I round the corner, and there's one hangar, one building there at 6 in the morning that has all these lights on. And I know those are my folks in there, my young men and women doing the job. And the first thing to do for leadership for me is to show up every morning at 6 and try to go take care of the people. So, and it's sometimes easier said than done. And the hectic world that we live in now affects us just like so many other families, with kids in no school, kids in hybrid school, kids in, some school, and spouses with competing priorities. But if you're gonna be there and lead your folks, I think one of the first things to do is show up. So
that's great. Yeah, thank you both. That's fantastic. Just kind of going along those lines as well, and then Jill, I'll turn it over to you. Are there any other specific testimonies that you've seen kind of as you've been able to kind of continue to uplift and show up for your teams? Have you seen anything specifically that has inspired you all by the way in which your personnel have responded to some of the challenges that they faced over this last year, that maybe that the impact that they're having on the community, maybe with others, or even kind of beyond that in the country that you've seen kind of with the Guard and kind of the work that's been going on that's kind of been inspiring to you both?
Yeah, there's many of them. Jordan, I'm inspired by my airmen every day. But I will tell you, when this COVID thing first started off, and there was so much uncertainty, we were asked to provide airmen for multiple civilian volunteer opportunities. That they activated part of the Guard to take care of certain stuff. So, for example, when the convention center got all those temporary lodging facilities to help from in case the overflow for the medical care, our people were part of that. When the last summer, in addition to COVID, we had unfortunately the fires and the civil unrest. Our folks were there as well. There's two that really stand out to me. The one where many of our airmen volunteered to stepped up to do the homelessness, the task force that basically had hotels that they were able to put people in. Our airmen did that and really put their own health and their family's health on the line to take care of all this. And I would see, I don't know if you guys got to see it, but on social media, there would be pictures of these airmen taking care of business. And it wasn't always pretty, but the joy they had taking care of that, and they came back and just rocked it. It goes unnoticed in many cases, but there they were. And then we had some of our airmen are also have full-time jobs with the community, and they provided during the civil unrest. We had a couple folks that were working downtown. This was in Denver, but still one of our airmen here at Buckley. When they, I don't know if you guys remember last summer, there was a car that went into a crowd and took out a couple police officers. Well, one of them was ours, and he was the only one that ended up being in the hospital. And when I saw him, I was just so proud of this guy. He's there doing a job, taking care of stuff. And while a lot of people were getting a bad rap, here's a guy just trying to just do the best he can for his community, and took one for the team. Fortunately, he's fine. But I'm just proud of what these guys do. And they're here with us. These guys inspire me every day to make sure I stay on my game. Like Colonel Banker says, being present, that's easy compared to what these guys do. These guys are just rock stars in my book.
Man, Chief, I hadn't heard about one of our troops being one of the police officers. That's crazy. Yeah. That's the first I've heard of that. Yeah, so it's, again, all great questions, Jordan. I love it. I love the way you phrased the question, and then, just some of the thoughts that it generates. So
he's like he's a professional.
Yeah, look at that time, man. He's got this thing cold.
Back to the question.
I answered the question. So when you asked that, it really touched a part of my brain that's the military history nerd, history buff. So one of my favorite things, and from my studies, and that was one of my undergraduate areas of focus, was history, U.S. military history. So one thing I've always been in awe of, and watching this, and now I've got to live an aspect of this, is how innovative and adaptive the military can be, sometimes through necessity, and then sometimes through not very nice circumstance necessity. But you go back to World War II, and the way our air forces were conducting bombing campaigns just wasn't working. So the complete overhaul and innovation that was needed to try to fight a successful war, you've got to study that. I was amazed just to see how these individuals adapted to unique and worldly times. It goes all the way to the Gulf Wars, Iraqi freedom, enduring freedom. The way we were fighting those wars at first just wasn't good, and some of our troops on the ground were, kind of getting their bottoms kicked because vehicles on the ground weren't up armored enough. It was troops' innovation on the ground to find scrap metal to tag to the side of vehicles to be more survivable. And it was the lowest individual on the ground, not some general, not some lieutenant colonel, that was driving that innovation. It was the innovation of our men and women that serve. And so during these crazy times, again, where and this is where I hopefully, now that I'm saying it out loud, I think maybe get to live a little bit of that history, or experience a little bit of that history, is, again, we didn't shut down to go telework. And it took a lot of innovation, and not innovation from many of the old guys that you have on this Zoom call, but innovation from the lowest boots on the ground, realizing the threat that had been presented to us, the obstacles that had been put in front of us, were going to challenge the way that we conducted business and that we delivered national defense for our community, for our greater United States. And some of the innovative means that I've witnessed over the last year, from one of the youngest airmen to mid-grade airmen, just to make sure that we adapt to continue to be able to provide fighting aircraft, fighting men and women for the nation. I can go over 3 or 4 different examples in my head right now as to how they've created new teams, how they've created new schedules, how they've had to create, again, with production levels down, find ways to create their own parts, where normally big manufacturing companies would produce certain parts so that the aircraft can fly. But the innovative means that our folks have put forth during stressful times, I think will be a piece of history that maybe my kids, I know one of the 3 of them is going to probably do the military thing, be a military nerd like their dad, but study that history. But maybe it'll be our opportunity that somebody will study someday, and the threat we were thrown at us, we put forth our innovative measures, and it was pretty cool to see over the last year.
I think it's really interesting to think about how you had to adapt to the number 1, the no-fail mission, and then number 2, supporting the community and being leveraged in a lot of capacities that were not foreseen. So how do you do both and do both? Because those are 2 totally different paths of adaptation and innovation. And so I think, to your point, as far as history being made, there's going to be an innovation in both of those spaces. It's going to be really incredible. So again, because we don't say it enough, we're just going to say thank you again. But now I want to ask just give you a chance to kind of plug the Guard and, maybe share, what people might not know about the Guard. I think, Ed, you mentioned earlier, hey, I've been in Aurora for 20 years. I'm a community member. So maybe dig into that a little bit and then dig into anything else that you think the community needs to know or people need to know if they're interested in the Guard. So really just brag on yourself a little bit.
And that's you first. You're good at that.
I don't know about that, buddy. Just the looks. No, I'm just kidding. I would. A lot of times when we walk around and people say, thank you for your service, it's very humbling, like Colonel Banker said. And when we walk down the street, if we're going home from work wearing our uniforms, they don't necessarily know who we are. More oftentimes than not, you hear the Air Force as just the Air Force, the Mother Air Force. And so we have this component in the Air National Guard that belongs to the state. We do serve federal missions as well, but for the most part, we don't leave. We don't PCS. PCS, we don't. That's a permanent change of station. We don't. Active duty, when I was active duty, I was in 10 years, I was stationed in 4 different bases. And it was hard on the family. As a Guard member, we stay here. We're in it for the long haul, not just on base, but in the community as well. And so I think that a lot of people don't understand that our recruiters are amazing, and they go out and about and try to recruit from all over. We want to continue that reach and try to educate the public that there is a Colorado Air National Guard. Funny story about that was I went to high school in Aurora, and after high school I joined Mother Air Force, and I didn't know there was an Air National Guard here, and it's been here for a long time. I didn't find out after I got out, and then I heard about it, and it was one of the best moves I've made. And so we have a vested interest in the community, and we contribute a lot to the community, not just having the base here, but our volunteering, our interactions, our families, they work here. I just think if we could educate the people on what the Colorado Air National Guard does, I think it's a good thing. There's a lot of benefits that the recruiters can talk about, but it's really extraordinary. It is really extraordinary. And I think when we go down, and I wish we had some sort of thing that says Air National Guard, but it's up to us as individuals. We tell our people, tell your story, educate your neighbors. They may see you're in the Air Force, but you're in the Colorado Air National Guard. I think we just need to educate more on that. Love it.
Yeah, that's awesome. So 2 things I got from Ed right there. First are, by the way, if we start speaking in acronyms, you guys just need to give us like a timeout. What does that mean? We try hard when we get to talk with folks that don't wear the uniform consciously, like, okay, don't speak in acronyms. Ed, I too didn't know what the National Guard was until about I was on my second assignment as a pilot instructor, a flight instructor, and I got to work with a guard guy, and he was happy. And I said, I want to be that guy. How do I do this guard thing? By the way, we have a guard in Colorado. I fought for 14 years to get back to my home state just so I could be in the guard. But to answer the question, so I keep Jordan on track. The one thing that I would plug, just not only for the military, but specifically for our Colorado Air National Guard, the military, the Guard in general, provided me one of my most valued resources, one of my dearest experiences. I was a knucklehead coming out of high school. I was the last person that probably anybody would have put a line bet on to go to college. But somehow I pulled it off and went through ROTC, got a commission. But the lack of education in my life growing up, only to experience it later in life, is been something I've been chasing my whole career. I love being given educational opportunities, school opportunities, and the military has been really good to me. It's been good to a lot of people I know in the form of getting folks education. So they've sent me to go get 2 master's degrees. I don't know what I'm going to do with both of them, but I got 2 of them, and I'm very grateful of the fact that the military provided that. So the one thing that I like, to Ed's point, I love, again, someday we'll do maybe another one where we could do take 2 and get our recruiters on here. But one of the greatest things I love talking with folks that either are handed my way that are showing interest in the Guard, maybe a young high school guy or gal, is what doing the Guard job means. And you'll see it on TV. Next time you see it on commercials, you'll catch it. 1 weekend a month, 2 weeks a year is the tagline, and you can join the Guard and you get trained in a job, a specialty, and instant job skills, instant life experiences, instant resume bullets from signing up to serve your state, serve your nation. But the government is good and repays those that are willing to make that sacrifice. And one of those benefits comes in the form of here in the state of Colorado, if you sign up in that part-time fashion, that part-time status as a guardsman, you receive a tuition benefit. And that tuition benefit can basically, again, by doing that 1 weekend a month, those 2 weeks a year, it'll get you a degree, a 4-year degree at just over 30 college institutions or university institutions here in our state. And so they're going to pay you back, and they're going to incentivize that service. And to me, I think that's one of the most phenomenal things that the Guard can offer. And I can think of the number of troops, I can picture their faces in each one of my shops that are serving their country right now with the sole intent to get that education, say they served, and then go off and pursue a civilian life. And I couldn't be more proud of them for serving 1, getting their education 2, and then launching into a career field where they make Aurora better, the city of Denver better, the central region better, the United States better. So that's one of my favorite plugs I would say I'd give Jill is the benefits that we can offer here in the Colorado Air National Guard.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think, just continuing to put Air National Guard folks through Leadership Aurora is another way to educate the community about those opportunities. Ed, to your point of, each of us have our story to tell, and each of us have the responsibility to share the opportunity through the Air National Guard. So I think, I've learned so much from the 2 of you in our class, because admittedly, I didn't know that much coming in. So I appreciate that. And I hope, that in the future, there's more Air National Guard folks in Leadership Aurora and more of our community can become educated.
You're my favorite classmate. Yeah, favorite classmate.
I'll hold that dear. Thanks.
Wonderful. So I know we've talked a little bit about just some of the challenges that we've faced over the last year, which is wonderful. And thank you both so much for just sharing some of the incredible work. Jill and I got a chance to interview some representatives, President Oudenhoven and John Wolfkill from the Community College of Aurora, and just hearing about some of the incredible work just over the last year that organizations like the Community College of Aurora and the Foundation and like the Air National Guard. And it's really inspiring to see just how you all have been able to adapt through such a challenging time and through such a challenging season and carry that leadership and carrying that no-fail mission into our everyday lives is really incredible. So again, as Jill has mentioned, and we're going to sound like a broken record throughout this entire program, is just thank you both for all of your incredible service for what it is that you're doing. So just kind of outside of your tremendous service and involvement with the Guard, are there some other groups and organizations, just as for some of those who are listening to this, ways in which we want to help inspire others to get involved in the community in Aurora? Outside of just your involvement in responsibilities with the Guard, what are maybe some other groups and organizations that you kind of just involve yourselves in throughout the city, maybe just in the community?
Yeah, so this year's been kind of tough. I'm not gonna lie. Like I said earlier, we've had to kind of minimize our exposure. But I personally, I've done a couple of the food bank drives in Aurora. There was a road show that was happening. I got to do some of that, which is amazing because you got these big semis that have all this food distribution and people that are truly in need. And I was just, for the most part, the traffic guy. But that's important because people get pretty upset with traffic. But it's like I said, with my wife before COVID, the school stuff, and then we started this we did a little class project at Morph, but with the Village Exchange Center, which is great, a resource for Aurora that's amazing amongst many of them. I would tell you, locally, in even my own neighborhood, like right now, we haven't had a lot of snow, but I'm on one of these things that I help the elderly and helping with snow removal. They're just a phone call away. Sometimes this is just my personal opinion. I think we overthink it, and we can actually get involved. Very, very small actions within your community to help each other out. And I think we need to really, at least as a minimum, focus on that. And then by all means, grow. One of the things that Leadership Aurora has shown me with all the programs, and I hope I really want to figure out how to do this, and I've been doing some research, is really addressing the homelessness issue. It's something it's near and dear to me. And I just need to jump in there and get that involved. And as we come out of this COVID vaccination thing, I think it's going to be a lot more doable. But I think let's not shoot for the moon. We can start doing simple little things with our community and our neighbors, and grow from there, and support local businesses too.
That's awesome, brother. But so yeah, I'll go full circle back to my original comment, the original question on that networking piece, and then I'll kind of debunk my own statement on how innovative the military is. But there are certain aspects in our world that we are either unaware of. There are things that we don't do well that our civilian partners do much better. And if it wasn't for Leadership Aurora and that network, and I know Chief Reaney hopped off here, I wouldn't have been given the opportunity that I have right now to sit as honorary chair for the Chamber's Executive Committee for Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. What led me to seeking that's a whole other long story. But I will say the military in general is playing catch up on the notion of diversity, equity, and inclusion compared to our corporate partners or civilian partners, academic institutions. And again, out of that showing up and taking care of your people, it's recently become something. Unfortunately, you have to use the word recently because we're taking action now after some extremely unfortunate events that we witnessed. But we are working to get into that fight and better care for equity and access and inclusion for our individuals. And So being able to sit on that honorary chair with Dee Dee Poole and the whole crew, that's a shout out to Dee Dee if she ends up watching this. But it's been the honor of a lifetime, and it's been access to information, knowledge, practices for something that we would have never really had the ability to tap into if we wouldn't have been able to form these relationships. But I love sitting on that monthly meeting. I love seeing what the community's doing, partnering, finding ways to better bring equity and inclusion practices to our Air National Guard. But that's been the honor of a lifetime to be able to do that with community partners. And again, it wouldn't have happened. I wouldn't have known about it. I wouldn't have had that access if it wouldn't have been for Leadership Aurora and Chief Rini.
That's amazing. That's amazing. And just to kind of go off of like what Chief Hauschild was talking a little bit about too, of just like getting involved, what are maybe some things that maybe you can just encourage others just to kind of get involved in the community during this time? What are some ways that maybe you know of that we can just encourage other people to, you know, give that impact and have that service before self to areas of need? Anything that kind of stands out specifically to you guys?
I think there's so many opportunities out there. First, it's wanting to truly want to do that. And then second is doing it. I mean, if anything, you just go online and there's so many different ways to volunteer. Google volunteer, and there's many ways. It's truly just wanting to get out there and doing it. And I think once I would challenge people that have never volunteered is to do it, and the satisfaction you get, it's almost like it's addicting. You want to do it more because you see the goodness out of that from whatever it could be. It's just getting out there and doing it. The schools are always looking for volunteers, food pantries, shelters. I mean, there's so many opportunities out there.
Creatures of comfort, like to operate in their norms and their normalcy. Military is no different. We show up to work, we work in our comfortable little bubble, and sometimes it's just the lack of knowing opportunity. And so I think of everything we've gotten to work on with you, with the cell, and other opportunities that are getting pitched our way. Sometimes that's all it takes. We got a bunch of folks that are hungry, eager, willing to serve, to grab those opportunities. But sometimes it's just lack of having that opportunity pitched our way. So if there's one thing that, again, back to Jill's point, get more people rolled into this program. And I know we tend to have, we shoot for 2 each class actually. But maybe where this class is going with what you're creating and trailblazers like you guys, maybe there's going to be some better long-standing opportunity created. You guys are innovative in your own means. We thank you, by the way, for your innovation. So, but sometimes all it takes is lobbing that softball, lobbing the softball for somebody to hit it. And just if you keep the opportunities coming through our networks, through our classmates, if we could find mechanisms to capture those, to serve them up, I guarantee you we have a lot of hungry men and women in here that are yearning to serve. Sometimes just not having access or understanding to what those opportunities are is the barrier alone. So maybe we find ways to get those coming our way,
That's great. Yeah. Thank you. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I think linking 2 things that I heard, Tom, earlier today, you said, you just got to show up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. You just show up. And then what Ed was just saying about just start small, like find something. There's a neighbor who needs a sidewalk shovel. There's somebody who needs groceries delivered. Even in a COVID era, you could say, oh, well, in-person volunteer opportunities aren't available. And I mean, I get emails almost every week from Children's Hospital saying they need blood donors. So, and I've done it, and it's safe, and I felt comfortable, and it's very, curated process. Yeah. And so, I just think there's so much opportunity if you just really put yourself in that mindset and say, I'm just going to take one step forward. And like you said, Ed, like it doesn't have to be this big moonshot, just one little step. And it's making a difference in one person's life. Like that's worth it. That's enough.
That's
Jill, and to that, to your point, Jill, absolutely. And when we go, let's take somebody with us. Let's take one or two people with us, and it is contagious. I mean, we went through our program. If you guys recall, we actually there was some furniture donations that were acquired, and we helped load up some trucks to help some families in need, and it was just so. I went home bragging to my wife and my kids about this, and it was just because you help somebody out. They were thankful, and that's payment enough. It really is. I think we just need to get other people, bring them along, and it's contagious. I believe so.
Mm-hmm. I completely agree.
Absolutely.
Well, now we'll kind of wrap it up here. And this question is kind of funny to ask after we've just been talking about serving others, but sometimes you have to take care of yourself in order to serve others. So hypothetically, blue sky world, everything's fine. You can do whatever, like no limits on this question. So if you were to treat yourself for a day, what would you do? What kind of meal? What kind of activity? Like, give us an insight into what kind of your perfect day would be, a day off would be.
Oh, Chief, I definitely want to hear this answer from you first.
Man, mine's man, that's a tough one because, man, I have a good time. I try to enjoy every day as it is. So that's a tough question. I guess the perfect day would be somewhere around 82 degrees, 85 degrees, partly cloudy. I'm on the lake fishing, and there's a bunch of record-sized walleye out there just waiting to eat the worm on my hook, and just hanging out, have the little music on, and just no waves, a nice little breeze. I think that would be the day. That'd be nice.
That's awesome.
That sounds magical. And then we could have a big fish fry afterwards.
Yes. I actually, so every summer I got my grandpa lives in Upper Michigan, the UP. I think we're like at negative 20 degrees right now. But in the summer it's gorgeous, and we go out there into some nice lakes with fishing. We do that. We do exactly that. Try to catch some fish and then have a nice fish fry. That's surrounded by family and friends is the way to do it.
That's great.
Chief, you're an artist. The way you were describing that, it was like a Bob Ross painting. It was absolutely. Gosh, that's a fun question. The perfect day besides maybe the Broncos finding a quarterback that they could win a Super Bowl with. So my perfect day is super simple. The worlds we live in, the jobs we do, super stressful, super exhausting, super demanding. My answer is very similar to Ed's. This is going to sound weird for a couple Colorado Rocky Mountain boys, but my perfect day is a day as well on the lake up in just north of Spokane, Washington. We got a little place up there, and I, with all the crazy, I yearn for those few times that you can reach perfect peace and harmony with the family. 3 crazy little banker children. Seldom does the stars align when they're all behaving, but you get a perfect day where all 3 of them are. Time with the wife, 3 kids on a boat, sunset, Lake Sasheen, Ponderay County, Washington. We're not fishing, Ed. I'm driving the boat, and I have a scotch and soda in my hand. And again, the kids are behaving. That's a key part to this daydream, if you will. But I can picture it. I've had it a few times, and if I can have a perfect day like that, it's with the family. That's unplugged from work, and Broncos quarterback Super Bowl run would be also nice. So.
Nice.
Maybe they're on their way with a new GM. We'll see.
That's awesome. Well, wonderful. Well, do you all have anything? We're going to wrap this up here. Do you all have anything that you would like to just close with? Jill, did I miss anything? Anything else that you want to add?
No, I've loved this time this morning, just hanging out with y'all again and learning even more about Air National Guard that in the last year I didn't know all of these details. So thanks for sharing. Thanks for your service. Really enjoyed hanging out with you this morning.
Yeah.
You guys are awesome. But one thing I'll plug for you guys is, again, I'll go back to the crazy worlds we're living in. This has been everyone best class ever, of course, longest class ever. But what a few of you guys and gals have been doing behind the scenes to keep our class going, chugging along, working towards a graduation, virtual, mind you. You got a bunch of classmates that are in awe of all the stuff you guys are not only doing to get our class to the finish line, but again, I still love the fact that you guys are creating. I don't think any other class has probably taken the opportunity to create a medium like this, like you guys have. So hats off to you guys as well.
Yeah, Jill and Jordan, thank you guys so much. Like Colonel Banker says, just doing this is awesome. I got to enjoy the ones that you guys have done in the past. I hope ours turns out as good as those other interviewees you've had. But thanks for everything. I mean, I can remember when we had our retreat, and I just can't believe how much time has come gone by since then. And I know we'll still keep in touch, and even though we're graduating soon, I think Colonel Banker said it right. We're going to figure out how to get people out here to get people to hear the Jets up close. And just thank you guys for what you do, and to the teammates of Leadership Aurora class 2020, 2021, and however long it goes. Just thanks for everything. Thanks for your friendship. Thanks for participating, being all in, and it's been great. It's been extraordinary.
Yeah. Well, thank you both. As Jill mentioned earlier too, you all are, and just as you echoed, Eddie, is, it's not just classmates, but you all are truly friends. And we look forward to just continuing these relationships and what we've been able to, build just over the last year and a half or so. And so we're so excited. And so we're honored to have both of you here. And again, thank you for all of your incredible service and what you do on a daily basis. And please extend our sincere thanks and appreciation to all of your teams, everything that they're doing on a daily basis. We hope that we appreciate what they are doing, and we want that message to go out to them as well.